Good evening, everybody. Really excited today to be meeting with Claire and Tessa from Free Young Minds. They're going to run us through a brief presentation explaining what Free Young Minds is all about, and we're really happy to share this with people.
Amazing. Thanks, Lisa. So really just to start with why I came to the PHA was because I got inspired a couple of years ago with the PHA's mission. So I just started following very lightly over the last couple of years. And then I noticed that there was a lovely group that was set up particularly for children, teens, and young adults. So I joined the group and I was silent for a little bit just because I was doing some other things, having a baby and like that. And then just recently been able to create some space. And my colleague and I, Tessa, we have been working with Free Young Minds for a long time. And it just seemed like all the things that I was reading and learning about with the PHA mission project was very much in alignment with what we were doing. So I thought actually initially it was just, oh, that's okay. I can bring some resources. I can share that with you. And then I was having a conversation with Lisa and I was sharing about Free Young Minds mission. And I could see Lisa's eyes just lighting up and thinking, like, it's like a checklist. Yeah, we want that. We want this. So I thought, let's just share what we've already got created because I volunteered myself then to do the landing page for the PHA for the children. And I was thinking, how do I manage to separate what we're doing in Free Young Minds and have PHA separately because they were so blended. So I'm just introducing the Free Young Minds project of what Tessa and I have been kind of working on over the last few months. Now, this is quite new, although Free Young Minds has been together for around about two years now. And predominantly we were working one-to-one with teenagers, doing hypnotherapy and some other life coaching tools, working both individually but also within school settings. Um, so I'm just going to guide you through really a brief presentation. These are really just visuals for you to just keep an eye on. So I'll take you through it. It's going to be fairly brief, but hopefully you'll be really inspired from what we're about to share. So Free Young Minds really is about educating, empowering and inspiring teens to be mentally, emotionally, physically and spiritually resilient for life. And our team includes myself, and then we also have Tessa, and we'll have an opportunity to speak with Tessa later as well, just so that she can bring her awareness throughout the presentation, but also at the end if there's any questions. We also have a couple of ambassadors and a co-creator, Javier Orti. However, he's kind of a bit of silent at the moment because he's on another project. In fact, working with children as well. So another project helping kids that might be quite an interesting area to look at as well, because he's developed a life coaching program
Okay.
to help train educators
Mm,
um, through life coaching for children. So it's a really great project that he's doing. And then
wow.
we have Karen Muddle, who is our teacher ambassador. Now, she is absolutely amazing because we were very fortunate to have gone into a secondary school and deliver a pilot project working with hypnotherapy, particularly rapid transformation therapy. And we're the first school that's or the first people that have ever gone into a state school that's been able to deliver something
Mm,
like this. And Karen was the lead in the school that enabled us to be able to provide that service. I worked with them personally for nearly 8 years, and we developed the whole program because they had no idea how it would fit in a school setting. And with the project that we had in this pilot scheme, we worked with 30 children or 30 teenagers just on low level anxiety. And out of the 30 teenagers, we had the most incredible results. Every single one of them, apart from one, all said that they had a significant change in their well-being from just doing this service. And the one that didn't said that they didn't have any change, but what they did say was they would recommend the therapy that we were giving them. So actually, the whole thing was such a wonderful and positive response. But of course, we were only able to work with individuals at the time. And then we really wanted to introduce this into a wider scale, into more schools. But we found it was becoming quite challenging because certain schools maybe weren't in alignment with what this kind of alternative way of working. So ultimately, our mission is to foster this self-growth and awareness. And it's really helping guiding teens and young adults to address all of their core mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges at the core. So really getting to the root of it. And by overcoming these obstacles, it helps them to really embrace their true selves, to be their true nature and be adversely resilient and lead such a much happier life. And I really love that word, adversely resilient, because I feel like it brings together a more positive aspect on looking at, yes, they do have this mental health challenge with the awareness of the word mental health has become so massive. But what if we were to try to change it on a much more positive way? So in being adversely resilient to me is, yes, adversely means, they've had these challenges through their childhood or through the experiences they're having through their teens or as they become young adults. And it helps them to be more resilient. So it has a much more positive aspect in their well-being. And so with that in mind, and the project that we did and the one-to-one service that, Tessa and I deliver, we were thinking, how do we reach more people? What is it that we can do that can reach more of the teens so they have access to it? Because there was three core things that we were finding, like the parents or the teachers particularly also were coming up with these three things. And one of them, the teachers was always saying to us, how can we get all of our teenagers to have access to these services? And how can we bring that about so that it's also affordable and accessible? We also had parents and including myself, including Tessa as well, who we were spending so much time searching the internet for lots of different areas and to try to help our children. And then as a practitioner, we really were just limited by our work from working one-to-one. And we had so many tools that we could share and give access to. How do we really communicate that? How do we also raise awareness? Because some of the services are really maybe not affordable to everybody, but also there is such a lack of awareness of the potential of various different services that teens and children could have access to. So these were the core things that kept coming up over and over again. And this is why we then decided perhaps we could create this membership portal where everybody can have access, it's affordable, and it will be a one-stop shop where we can have all these resources that the teachers and the parents and also the teenagers have been asking for. Now, what we do know, of course, is that the children and the teens and the young adults that we serve are completely at the core of what we're wanting to achieve. And the idea is that when we empower them, that it means that they are really connected to their own values. They really understand themselves at a level where they know their purpose. They know and understand the skills that really light them up. And they can kind of get to know themselves from a much more deeper sense of being, which means that they'll cultivate better relationships with themselves because they'll have so much more awareness. And of course, that ripples out into their relationships with other people as well, because they have a deeper sense of compassion and kindness towards themselves, towards others. And in order to do that, we wanted to bring about this educational experience. And when we think of education, it is about bringing out the best in them. And when we can align them with that, bringing out the best in the teens themselves and the children, is what happens is they end up wanting to discover more. They end up getting so inspired. They just want to keep learning more. They'll ask more questions. They'll take more risks. They'll explore more. And of course, that leads to so much inspiration because it awakens their creativity. They're allowed to be themselves. They feel like they can go on new adventures to discover more possibilities. They're able to adapt and change in different environments so much better. And when they really truly know the source of their own values and who they are, normally the ripple effect of that is they become successful because they believe in themselves so much, but they're also not afraid to speak up for themselves. So at the core of all of the Free Young Minds is always the teens and the children and the young adults, but the one thing that how do we get them to access that information? So this is why we brought together the membership portal, and it's really a starting point to build a foundation of well-being through their support systems to begin with. And then on the offside of that, the children and the teens and young adults will be able to have access to those resources through their parents and guardians or the educators and professionals that have access to the system. So what that looks like within the membership portal is we created this vision of the roadmap to wellness by unlocking the 8 dimensions of well-being. And I'm sure that you're all familiar with a lot of these dimensions anyway. But when we start at the core of working from the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual side and educating these young people with the awareness of getting to know themselves, getting to know their physical bodies. And even when I talk about physical bodies, it doesn't mean necessarily about the exercise that they do. It means also about the physical reactions that they might have to a particular emotional or mental experience. Like with anxiety, is this anxiety that I'm feeling right now okay for me to feel this? Or is it something that I really need to think about reaching out for some help because it keeps coming up over and over again? So it's really bringing awareness to how they physically feel within their bodies, because it's almost like they've become disconnected from their bodies and then not understanding, the way their mind works, and they're meeting their emotional needs, and also looking at the spiritual side of things, which actually is more about their values. What is their meaning and purpose in life? I mean, it's the biggest question that everybody has, is like, who are we? What are we here to do? What if we could kind of give them some inspiration of how they could cultivate a different relationship with themselves around that spiritual awareness? And then, of course, once you've got that foundation built so strongly within them, all of these other areas outside of them, like their relationship with money, what they want to do with their career, their social interactions, the environment that they're living in, suddenly with this foundation, it creates a beautiful ripple effect, to help them to cultivate different relationships and come together as a community and helping each other with much more compassion and kindness for themselves ultimately, but also for everyone else that is basically in the world. And that's what we really need right now. um, and so within this framework of our membership portal, this is what we want to bring to life and what we have created to start with. So we've been putting together gradually some masterclasses, which will bring, specific subjects for parents to have access to. And then they can also then invite their children, teens, and their young adults to listen to those masterclasses or to join these courses. It's a really good way of capturing the ability to work with the children by going through the parents. Um, and the masterclasses, we can bring in introductions to different techniques and tools for wellness, and also just provide, as you said, Lisa, before, lots and lots of resources that they can have access to. Now, whether that is in the local area, the resources to go to various different health hubs, but just one particular area where they can really have access to everything in one space. And then obviously bringing together courses, workshops, and training, whether they're free, some could be free mini courses, some can be paid. And it is a portal for other lots of practitioners that can put their courses and materials on there and actually benefit from it so that we all have access to it and everybody can share and really just inspire other people and the parents and the children to be able to really come into their own sense of well-being. And then, of course, there's the community. So just continuing to build that community, bringing more live Q&As so that they have access to lots of these different people that are just so amazing in the healing modalities or the educational parts of what they do, but they're just not known about. And particularly, I know that there's so many parents and families out there that really don't know of access to other ways of looking at mental, emotional, and physical health for their kids. And then, of course, we've got the podcasts, and then having this lovely supportive community as well. And then kind of bringing all of that together, this is kind of currently what we do have at the moment. And at the moment, with all of the modalities, this was one thing that Tessa and I kept thinking, how do we bring, we have so much a range of modalities that we're both trained in. And our training purely, honestly, comes from so much passion about learning and wanting to just really learn about more things that not only help support ourselves, of course, that's where it normally starts, but also our families and then the wider audience. So really, how do we incorporate all of these current modalities that we have, plus add to them, because it's not a one size fits all. So this is kind of the essence of a lot of the modalities that we do bring into our services at the moment. And the basis really of all of those services is always looking at the root cause of the symptoms that these young people experience, because we can all just, look at the surface level stuff, but we also know that when we get to the root cause of those symptoms, that's where the magic and, the healing begins really. So it's being able to incorporate all of those tools to enable them to then really get to the root cause so they don't have to suffer into their adult life. And with that in mind, with all the modalities that we do have, we also wanted to bring in the idea of the masculine and feminine energy, because to have the balance of masculine and feminine in our systems is just amazing once we understand it and once we know about it. But right now, I can tell you that most of the teams that we particularly work with, they have no idea about this. They have no idea that there's a masculine and feminine energy and how they can bring this element into their lives. And when we're working with these type of modalities, sometimes we may need to use a more masculine approach, which we've kind of identified as things like NLP. Now, we know that there is a feminine aspect of that, but with the masculine approach, it's much more structured, and some children need a bit more structure in that process. Or we may incorporate a heart math technique, which is much more feminine energy focused through just some breathing exercises. So this is another thing that we really wanted to educate our young people about, this masculine and feminine energy. And a couple of other ideas that we had, or we're actually incorporating, we've got some people that are going to be delivering some master classes, is, as an example, it's something like women's cycles. So really understanding the women's cycle is so important from the aspect of what it's really like through the whole cycle of the 28 days. But it's not just educating the young women, it's also educating the young men, because we know that that cycle is not just having a period at the end, the end of 3 days. There is so much more in between, and the way we function as women is very different depending on what week we're in. So if we can educate not only the young girls to really fully understand themselves, we can also educate the lovely young men so they get to understand that side and aspects of things, because that's something they don't know. And the reason I'm sharing that particular idea is because I've witnessed this personally when I started to look into this as well. I shared it with my husband, and then my husband shared it with our young adult boys. And what we witnessed was something really, well, what I witnessed was something really quite amazing. Was, first of all, my husband was much more understanding in those certain times and was much more present with me. But also I saw it with my adult children and their girlfriends. They were just much kinder, gentler, and there was just a little bit of a difference because they had more understanding about, the need for women to rest a little bit more. So that's why I'm sharing that particular example, because there are lots of others. Um,
Ah,
so, and then really just to kind of finish this off, we already have the portal set up. It's been going for about 4 months now. And at the moment, have just been inviting family and friends to join us, purely because we're building the materials. And of course, it takes time to add things onto the platform. So that way we're kind of cultivating more resources, as well as being able to have the time to add everything onto our portal, so that we can really, once we start to establish it much more, we'll have much more materials out there. So overall, what we're trying to do is building these connections for long-lasting wellness for these wonderful young people that we have. And our three core things is really about connection, wisdom, and collaboration. Now, those particular words were the ones that we collected from all the parents, all the teachers that we worked with, and these were the three things that really stood out to us. And for me personally, I know, well, I've seen, or I'm seeing it, we are all seeing it, the world is really changing, and it's no longer in the world of I, it is in the world of we. And that, for me, is where the true magic begins. So that collaboration, that community is definitely a way where we can start that off and let the next generation really bring in the essence of that, so they can experience that for themselves. And then they will make so much magic once they really get to know who they are from the foundational level of well-being. And then just one last thing that is a possibility in the future is, we have become some custodians. This is a personal project of mine, and we've become the custodians of some land in Portugal. And what we would love to be able to do is to bring families to potentially reconnect with nature, to learn more about themselves. It's, in a way, I don't like to use the word retreat, so I feel like it's more like a wellness reset for families, where they can just, get rid of their phones, connect back into nature, learn how to cook with each other, bring back that family community in a small space, but also provide them with healing, because maybe there's, families, we all have stuff, don't we? And it's actually really quite nice to come together in a space where you can just be yourselves, but also be guided in how you can cultivate deeper relationships with each other. And so really that's it. And Tessa, I know that's the first time you saw the slides, and obviously now you've heard me say it. Is there anything that you want to add to what I've said, and anything that I've missed?
so you've covered it very well, Claire. Thank you. And it's exactly what we have been working on. And it's really building that, as you said, connection, wisdom, and collaboration, so that the teachers, parents, and teenagers
are all on the same journey together. Because it is at the moment we are witnessing teenagers going through mental health crisis. As we know, just in the UK, it's 1 in 4, and I see too much these teenagers from our experience, see the teachers without the tools to be able to support these young people, the parents running from one practitioner to the other, really lost, trying to get a fixed results, and the teenagers starting to feel that there's actually a problem. And so exactly, we wanted to bring something all together. And first of all, for these young people to know that their healing at the end does come from within. And it is amazing from the teenagers we've worked with to see, actually, when you ask them, they're like, oh my God, I know I can do this. I just realized I can. I'm able to get rid of this anxiety. I can achieve. I can make myself feel better. And that is so amazing to see. And so it is great to be able to collaborate and bring everyone together and spread the word, as a community.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing. Um, Linda, it's probably worth you, and thank you, ladies. I just think, this is great. And there's so much synergy between what we're trying to do, as Claire said at the beginning of this presentation, but even down to the words we use, we are so aligned with empower, educate, inspire, community. It's absolutely everything that the People's Health Alliance is about. So it's really exciting to be able to collaborate on this. I'd love Linda to be able to introduce herself because Linda's had 40 years experience in this field, and I know how excited she is about Free Young Minds. So yeah, over to you,
Yeah,
Linda.
absolutely. Am I muted? Am I here? I can't
We can
see
hear you.
myself. Huh? I
We can
can't see
hear
my.
you.
Oh, sorry. Um, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for a long, long time. I know that the mental health system that I've been working in the last 40 years is not meeting the need. I just know that. And I've done what I can on a one-to-one basis to change that. But to me, this is the People's Health Alliance made manifest and coming into action. Like, this is it.
Mhm.
This
Yeah,
is what, this is the root, this is the foundation of what we need to build so that as these young people move into adulthood, they will be resilient. They will know that they have within themselves the tools to face whatever it is they need to face and to heal themselves. I mean, it's just I'm almost speechless. I'm so excited about this. But yeah, this is it. This is what we've been needing for quite some time now. And we're finally at the point, I think, where we can make this manifest in the world now, which is fantastic.
it's amazing. And also, Linda, you've been working with Over to the Youth, haven't you? So if
Yes,
we can take what you
yes.
guys have been doing in this age group and spread that to the 18 to 25-year-olds.
Right. So the Over
Amazing.
to the Youth organization has been working with 18 to 25-year-olds on an international basis, um, providing mentorship so that it's the same goal. It's the same goal of finding your authentic self, becoming sovereign, knowing that you have what you need to be able to be well, um, and encouraging. I mean, I wish we had all been welcomed to the planet this way. I really do. Things would have been so much different. But hopefully, I think this is going to need to start like before conception, that we talk about what does it mean to bring a child onto this planet and
Mhm.
how do we want them to experience life on this planet so that they can be the best them that they can be.
Yeah.
I love that, Linda, because and we can perhaps have that conversation with Nikita Stark, our pregnancy and birth ambassador. I'd love to explore that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, me too.
one of my favorite subjects, and especially have it recently, obviously having my daughter at this stage, and because I have much more awareness of the aspects, especially in, the astrology charts, and other things as well. It's really, really fascinating. So I just think, imagine if they kind of come in having this a little bit of understanding about themselves in that way. I feel like just so much magic could happen, couldn't it? There's so many possibilities of where these young people could take themselves. So I am totally in line with that, Linda. It's really amazing how you just
Yeah, and
shared that.
I think not only is the world ready for this now, but the young people are ready. They're coming in ready for this. And I think if we miss this opportunity, that would be tragic because they're waiting for us to see who they really are. They're waiting for us to
Mm.
acknowledge, look at what I'm bringing, look at the gift that I am, look at what I have to offer.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of the mental health crisis is because they're not feeling that we recognize and acknowledge that we're saying that they're broken. We're saying there's something wrong with them. We're saying they don't fit in. We're saying they don't conform. That is the entirely the wrong message.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
totally. Mhm.
Amazing.
That was beautiful. That was
Yeah.
lovely,
Well,
Linda.
because you just because you
Heartfelt and absolutely spot on, and I kind of think, when a child's born, they're born with that
mm,
within them, but because of the systems that they move through in their early years, it's kind of lost, isn't it? So if we can capture it and nurture it from the beginning, and like say pre-birth, how
yeah.
amazing. We will have the most amazing people on the planet.
Planet. We have a lot of work to do to change these, to communicate, to be able to inform and educate and really get through the system. Because as you said, Linda, yes, I mean, a lot of these kids then grow up thinking that they're broken, that there is something wrong, because that's what they hear from all the different directions. And
Yeah,
that's where we have to come in and
yeah.
Hmm.
I've got
and
something
reverse.
actually. Do you mind if I just read this to you? Because I just posted this on social media post, and this was actually from one of my amazing young adult clients that I've been working with. And I worked with her I've worked with her on and off for a couple of years. Initially, it was with some rapid transformation therapy. We did a couple of sessions, and then the process after that has just been integration. And I was catching up with her about a month ago, and she was just saying how she's, doing really well. But she said, "Oh, can I read this out to you?" And it blew my mind. So, do you mind if I read this? Because
Please
everything you
do.
just said was exactly the representation of what that young person is able to do for herself now. And it gives me goosebumps. So if you just bear with me a second, but I'll just bring it up because it was really beautiful. So bear with me a second. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. And she did allow me to share it, but obviously without her name. So this is what she wrote from. It was kind of like the integration of what she was processing, um, and and it was just amazing. So she said, you keep trying to fix yourself, don't you? But what if healing isn't about fixing anything? You've been fighting so hard to mend what's broken inside of you, to glue the shattered pieces back together. But what if healing isn't about fixing? What if it is about loving those broken parts enough to let them breathe? Healing is not a checklist to contemplate. It's a quiet process of learning to sit with your pain, to let the raw ego of your wounds soften over time. And instead of rushing to be better, give yourself the grace to be where you are. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. So when you stop trying to fix every flaw and accept your imperfections as part of your growth, that's where healing happens. It's the pauses, the deep breaths, and the moments of self-compassion. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be patient with yourself. Healing happens when you stop fighting your pain and start loving yourself through it.
Wow.
Right. So is there any
Isn't that
question,
amazing?
is there any question that these young people have what we need right now? I mean, that proves it. What you just read absolutely proves my point. They are bringing what we need.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was profound. She's, young 18-year-old has been cultivating that relationship with herself over these few years, and to express it like that was I was literally in tears when she was sharing it with me, because I could see how inspired she was within herself, and how empowered she was to recognize that about her.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Yes, I thought it was quite a nice place to share.
I
Yeah,
also
perfect.
love the fact, I love the fact that you're integrating all of the worlds that our young people live in, the home, the school, the peer group. You're integrating all of that because
Mm,
that's part of why they've become so fractured, is
yeah.
because these things are not in alignment.
Mhm.
I've thought for a long, long time that education is at the foundation of children's mental health, because that's where they're getting most of well, not all their information, because they're getting some of it from their peers and online, but they're getting a lot of indoctrination that way. And education needs to be aligned with all aspects of who they are.
Mm, yeah.
Fabulous. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people very interested in what you're doing, Claire and Tessa. Amazing work, and we are so happy to collaborate on this. Um, let's share this out, get the message out there, and we've got lots of work to do, haven't we? We've got young people to listen to. This is why I'm so excited about Over to the Youth as well. We need the young people involved in all that
Yeah.
we're doing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they're going to take that forward into the new world that we're creating.
It would
Yeah.
be so amazing to get them involved. And obviously, Tess and I will speak later. But just when you spoke about Over to Youth, I've been having a look at their website, and I was like, wow, what if
Mm,
they are the ones that are part of the process of building what the foundation that we already have? That would just be extraordinary. So that's a really exciting project. So I can't wait to have contact. I know you said last time, Linda, that I'd be welcome to join maybe in January.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be
Yes.
and
amazing.
this is what it's all about, collaboration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the key, isn't it? Thank you. We shall speak again very soon, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people really excited about this.
Okay.